we have this worthy cause that is so much bigger than selling a book. The book itself was transformational. Anyone who read it was like game changer, but
Mhm.
the impact it had was a worthy cause. And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck around going after that big dream, is that the why behind it is not bigger than the destination itself. That's the fuel. That's what gets us to think outside the box. That's what keeps us up at night and wakes us up early and finds the people who can get us there and just does wild, crazy things.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Delusional. I'm your host, Michelle Coyle, and I am here with my very good friend, Brook Bishop, today. Brook, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brook Bishop, and I'm stoked to be here today to share with you guys about how I went from being a corporate drone to being Tony Robbins' right-hand man, and now a corporate freedom fighter. That's my new title.
I love that. I love that. And this is a man who, if you didn't know, is on a first name basis with Tony. He'll literally drop Tony into stories like, oh, Tony and I were talking the other day.
I try not to. I
But you
honestly,
do.
I know, but it's. I worked with him for 15 years, so it was really tough. It's hard to break those associations when you work with somebody of his, not even just his caliber, but his personality, because
Mhm.
he gets stuck in your brain quite a bit.
So you spent 15 years essentially, I don't want to say following him around, but you were in a nomadic lifestyle kind of, right? Is that right?
Well, I followed him around. Well, the first 8 years I was on the road with him, like we
Mhm.
literally were traveling. He was in a plane every 3 days. I was in a plane like every 3 weeks. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was a lot of events. Holy moly. Yeah.
Well, and let's back up because I want to know how did this even happen? Like, what kind of corporate job were you working? How did you end up getting in touch with Tony or getting that job? Like, how does one even do that?
So my uncle, who actually you may or may not have already had him on your show. I'm sure you might probably have him in the future, just knowing you and him. But yeah, my uncle Mark, he got me into sales really early.
Mhm.
And I mean, the early days, I was actually suicidal when he got me into selling. So I went from suicidal to sales, which I don't know if that was a good move or a bad move, but uh,
Whatever kept you here, we're
it,
glad you're alive.
it was wild. But that put me in the corporate game of selling for different people. Fortunately, I was in the world of personal development. So I got to work with some different coaching companies and sales training companies and whatnot. Got fired from one, which that in and of itself was a crazy story. And then I got recruited and picked up by Tony to work for them in sales.
Mhm.
Did that for 7 years, frontline selling, going on the road, doing all the things. But I was at a desk, and there was a tipping point where I started to burn out and started asking a whole heck of a lot of different questions. And that honestly changed the game. So it was, I'm like, I'm either going to stay on this path with Tony doing sales, or I'm going to rattle the cage and do something radically different with Tony,
Mhm.
or I'm going somewhere else. Those were my like three options. So yeah.
Okay. So when you came into the sales job, I'm imagining, and I don't know exactly how big the organization was 15 years ago. Obviously, it's massive now, but I'm imagining it was still pretty big back then, and that you would have been on a team of a lot of salespeople. So you were just like one guy of lots of
We
guys
had
now.
Yeah, we had over 80 salespeople on our
No.
sales floor for in-house sales, and then we had another probably 30 or 40 people that were outside sales. So yeah, it was a big company even back then, and it's much bigger now.
Okay, so you're one of like 120 people on the sales team. So then how did you go from just being, one of the folks to becoming the right hand man? You said you started to ask yourself some different questions. You're teeing us up. I want to know what the questions were.
Yeah, no, huge piece of it was, and I think this is anywhere in life, right? The quality of our questions dictates the quality of our answers.
Mm,
They had a real high turnover on the sales team because it was a straight commission environment with Tony being the overachiever that he is. If you played big, you won big, but if you didn't play big, you were out. And that
mhm,
was very much the culture. Um, I loved it because all I knew at that point was feast or famine, right? And so coming into there with Tony, most people came in and they wanted the significance of like, I want to hit certain numbers. I went in, thank gratitude to Mark for helping me ask a better question. When I went into work with Tony, my question was, how do I change the game?
mm,
That was a very different paradigm for everything because it never allowed me to like break a record and be satiated. It was, okay, I changed the game. Cool. Well, if my outcome is still how do I change the game? This is an infinite game, so I'm going to change it again. And so there was, I mean, my hunger to keep doing that, I broke every record they had, which
mhm.
put me on radar with Tony because he's like, what the fuck is this dude doing? Because like my numbers were blowing everybody else's stuff out. And I wasn't doing it in an unethical way, right? Because you might have salespeople that come in and they blow numbers, but they're blowing smoke too, right? And they're getting an outcome, but they're at the mercy of major cancellations or lawsuits or who knows whatever else would come with it. So I had the highest sales, but I also had the lowest cancellations. So that put me on radar where Tony was like, hey, could you help us do some other things in the company? And it really became an opening of, well, if you can do this with one sales department, can we translate this to other sales departments? So I got the red-haired bastard stepchild on the team which was, we're about to close the doors on this team in about 2 weeks. Can you help turn it around? Which I didn't know when he gave it to me. And we took a team from the previous year, a team of 5 did it. You'll get this because you know the industry, but a team of 5 did a little over $100,000 in 12 months. Okay, so 5 salespeople.
This is not good, by the way, for folks listening.
This is not
good. This is really not good.
Yeah,
that is a very low output for 5 people selling full time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we did in that 6 months that followed, so I stepped in and we did 3 million in 6 months. And then the next year we did 5 million. And then over the next couple of years, we jumped that up to about 25 million.
Awesome. So you know, I've been working in sales my whole career as well. I found that when it was time to transition from being a salesperson to a sales manager, I really struggled with that transition. You know, it seems like it might be easy. Oh, just teach everybody what you do and like how you're so good at what you do. And then, you know, step 3, profit. For me, because of the competence that was there, it was very difficult for me to start to break that down and explain it to other people. I eventually did, and I created a whole course out of it and have taught many clients sales successfully from it. But it took me an embarrassingly long time to become a good sales trainer or a sales manager from being a great salesperson. It sounds like you just kind of walked into it and were like, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. And like turn the team around.
No, not at all. Actually, when I took the position, my very first day, so I'm like, I just got promoted at Tony Robbins. Like I'm stoked. Like I'm on cloud 9. My very first meeting that morning, they're like, hey, congratulations, welcome. Oh, by the way, because within the team, we had appointment setters and we had salespeople, right? They go, by the way, the comp plan for our appointment setters was actually blown out. So you have to go let them know that we're cutting their income in half. So my first day, I'm thinking I'm going to get like kudos and rah-rah. And instead I got to go in and tell the half of the team, we're cutting your income in half. And I get to be the purveyor of this. So now my whole team basically freaking hates me, right?
So wait a second. No. I got to pause there because I feel like most rational people, if told your income is being cut in half, would just say, fine, fuck off. Like I'm going to go get a different job at the same income.
Half of the team did.
Okay.
Half of that. Yeah. Half of the team did. And now the reality was they were getting paid too much because they weren't producing. So it was, yes, your income's getting cut in half, but here's the opportunity. If we crush it, you can actually make more if we do our job well, right? And we did, thank God. But yeah, half of them right away were like, I wanted the security of what I had before, and screw you, I'm out. I'm like, cool. Now I got to go recruit. I got to go replace, 5 people immediately. So yeah, it was not smooth and easy by any stretch, but it was fun. So yeah.
And of course, now you are, you said a freedom fighter, an entrepreneurial freedom fighter.
Yeah.
But now, just for context for everybody listening, Brook now has his own very successful company, podcast, everything else, right? Everything that comes with it, teaching coaches how to make a lot of money, right? And do good work with integrity. Did I say that right, Brook? I shouldn't speak for you.
Yeah. Keep going. No, yes, that coaches, therapists, experts. Yeah, we honestly, here's the beauty. We get to take the principles and the things that I got to test with Tony and with a much larger budget and we'll have a lot more people. All those principles and the things we got to test and try and prove out there, we actually now get to bring through what we do with Empire, which is, it's really cool. And the reality is it works in all businesses, but that just is it's the lane we have fun in. So helping people who are helping people.
Absolutely. So back to the sales team, half the people walk out the door, half the people stay when you have presented them with an opportunity that says you're going to make less right now, but you have the opportunity to make more. There's more of an upside here if we do what we're going to do. And you can see how that would just split along personality lines immediately. Like you said, people who valued security more were like, nope, I'm going to go find something secure. And people who maybe have more of the psychographic of the folks who are on this show or listen to this show would say, fuck yeah, I'm going to go for the brass ring. This entire show is about delusional people doing delusional things. And in your work through all these years, you have seen the difference in outcomes between people who are playing it safe and people who are going to go for the risk. Can you talk a little bit about that?
What, and just an interesting thread that goes right through it. Tony is delusional always. Like, I'll be very candid. And it's delusion that gets backed up with reason, right? Because anybody
Okay.
who's had massive transformation on the planet, let me paint the picture of the two different, this is just my model of the world. So I don't know if this is gospel, but I'm going to go with it. I see that there's some people that go, what's the logical thing that I can do and where will the logic take me? I then see the other side, which is what's the delusional thing that could be done? And then how do I make logical decisions that can take me to the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
Tony is that personality. And so I had the benefit of being in so many conversations where he always started with the moonshot situation. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we get there?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas so many people are like, well, we really like what we have. I don't know if I want to risk this. And well, what could we do realistically? And where will that take us? And they set their benchmark based on that.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how many times, I mean, we were down and out on one of the outcomes for something that Tony was doing. It was actually when he was going to do his book launch. And we were looking at book sales out of the gates. And it was like, we're not going to hit the number to hit New York Times bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
And the number was big. And
What
we
was
had a
it? Can you
very,
share it? What was the number?
the number was, it was something like, I think it was like, if I remember correctly, somewhere around 100,000 book sales. And we had
Okay.
a very short runway to get there, right?
Okay.
And so we had already done our marketing push. So our world had already been absorbed. And seeing Tony go, being a New York Times bestseller, at that point, they didn't have like a formula to figure out how you could become a New York Times bestseller. Whereas it's getting a little bit more deconstructed now. We know some people that have cracked the code on that, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different dialogue. So Tony goes, okay, we have to do these huge book sales. Like, how are we going to pull this off? And he goes, we're going to hit the number. Like, it's non-negotiable. And so this was supposed to be a 4-hour meeting that turned into a 14-hour meeting. Okay. This
Mm-hmm.
meeting started at 4:00 in the afternoon. So do the math, right? We were going through the middle of the night. We were literally jumping into the cold plunge and in the ocean to try and stay awake and come up with strategies. The moonshot outcome was non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
But how we got there was then he goes, hey, if we can't sell these and we've got to find other people that can sell it for us, who's all the people on the planet that could make this happen? And we started putting all these names on a board. And then he started going, okay, who here knows these people? Like
Mm-hmm.
very few hands were going up. He's like, okay, who here knows somebody that knows these people? Right. And in that 14 hours, we cracked the code on what was impossible. And we're not going to be a New York Times bestseller. By the next morning at sunrise, we've got a game plan. And then within a week, he was a New York Times bestseller. So
Mm-hmm.
when you see enough of those delusional moments where I'm like, there's no fucking way, like this is impossible. And then you just stay in that pocket of if your life depends on it and we had to find a way, what comes up? And I just was so blessed to be at the table that many times with, and literally it was every 6 months, there was another delusional thing that Tony's like, we're going to do this crazy thing. We literally just finished a project with him today, was another delusional play. So yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, Tony Robbins is a delusional guy, like just from the outside, right? I mean, didn't he get really famous at like 25?
He got famous. So it's interesting things. He was famous in his own right in his own high school. So he was like his ASB president. Um, he had a really challenging childhood, and most
Mhm.
people know his story. But he left because there was so much abuse in his household, and
Mhm.
he went and was living out of his Volkswagen Bug. And somebody told him about this guy named Jim Rohn, and Tony literally scrapped money together to be able to go to one of his like entry level courses.
Mhm.
And Tony burned the boats and went to become a salesperson for Jim Rohn.
Mm.
And he crushed sales for Jim for about, I want to say it was 2 or 3 years. And he blew everything out of the water. And then he went out on his own. So, yeah.
And then he became like synonymous with NLP and everything else. There
He did.
are people listening to these stories that would say, well, some of the things that Tony was doing was could be classified as abusive, like coming in and saying your income is cut in half, or hey, you've got, we're staying here all night, get in the cold plunge, whatever. It speaks to a certain kind of leadership, A, that he could pull that off, B, that people would stick around and go, okay, Tony, cool, I'll be here all night for you. What would, balance that, some of those horrific images out a little bit with the positives. What made you want to stay 14 hours till you figured it out for this guy?
Intention.
Mhm.
His intentions were not, how do we go make more money?
Mhm.
It's really interesting because his whole model was not, how do we get New York Times bestseller so we make more cash, right? It wasn't based on a greed move. It was, how do we become New York Times bestseller? Because if we have that stamp, we can reach more people on the planet. And the other part was, he donated all the profits of that book to feed America, to feed people that were starving. So the why that was behind it was way bigger than the what, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
And that to me was, did everybody, is Tony everybody's cup of tea? Like, no. Is his intensity for everybody? No. Is there a lot of people that don't survive in that cultural environment? I mean, there's a reason there's high turnover, because
Yeah.
the shit flows downhill. His intensity is expected from everyone else who works there.
Mhm.
So for me, though, it was very interesting because the intention and the power and the magnitude behind why he wanted to do these delusional things, that way outweighed going to bed,
Mhm.
right? And sleeping. To me, that was like, we have this worthy cause that is so much bigger than selling a book. But it's not only what the book itself was transformational. So anyone who read it was like game changer, but
Mhm.
the impact it had was a worthy cause. And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck around, going after that big dream, is that the why behind it is not bigger than the destination itself.
Mm.
And that's the fuel. That's what gets us to think outside the box. That's what keeps us up at night and wakes us up early and finds the people who can get us there, and you know, uh, just does wild, crazy things.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the name of that book, by the way, so that anyone listening, if they want, maybe we'll sell 2 or 3 more copies here.
He's had a few. At that point in time, the book was called Money Master the Game.
Mhm.
And it's funny because we're actually in the acknowledgments in the front of the book, because I think that's when he made that choice, because we all rallied around it in that moment. So like all of us on the leadership team in that window of time, it was really cool. But
That's worth staying up all night for, to get to get in the acknowledgement.
I didn't. It wasn't dangled as a carrot, but it was very cool on the back of it for sure. But
That
yeah,
is super cool. I love this thread because it's one thing to be delusional yourself and to go and do things that maybe people said you couldn't do or said you shouldn't do or whatever, and just kind of go follow your own path. It's another thing to enroll a whole team of people in your vision and get everybody to stay up all night with you and get, to the point of, I mean, how many people worked for him at that point total? Probably
in
hundreds
the
of
whole company.
thousands. Yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky, loaded question. I think he owns like 135 companies now, so that's a big number.
Yeah.
At that point in time, for that specific company, his cornerstone company, which is Robbins Research International,
Mhm.
that company, we probably had 350 internally. We probably had 150 coaches. With contractors, it was maybe 700 or 800 people, something like that.
Yeah. So you got 700, 800 people knowing that the shit's going to roll downhill, knowing that they're in an intense cultural environment, still
Yeah.
wanting to be there because they believe so much in what Tony Robbins was doing. And at this point, I would assume that number is, thousands and thousands of people that work in his 135 companies, maybe tens of thousands of people, right? And so, what does it take to be so delusional, Brooke, that not only are you doing crazy shit, you're getting hundreds or thousands of people to do crazy shit. I mean, it's getting into like cult leader kind of status.
It can, honest, I'll be transparent. It can feel that way at times.
Yeah,
It's because I've worked with other companies that felt more cultish, just because
sure.
of one part of it's because they wove more of their belief systems, their religious belief systems into the company.
Mhm,
For Tony, he's super spiritual, and he's got a spiritual energetic twang that goes through there, but he always comes back to the purpose, the purpose, the purpose, the purpose. He also sets a standard, and this is a really fascinating piece that I think is hard for a lot of people to adopt. He sets a standard, and he doesn't buckle on it. It's like,
mhm,
no, this is where we're going, and this is what's required.
mhm,
If you're not willing to play, like, kick rocks, and I'm going to go find somebody that is willing to play.
mhm,
Very few people are willing to actually not set a standard, but very few people are willing to hold a standard.
mhm.
and they make excuses and they make stories and they look at their results and they make that the reason why they haven't been able to do what they want to do, is they get into that blame, shame, justification loop, and it holds them back from getting what they want. And Tony does not tolerate that. You mentioned NLP. The one thing that's really tricky with Tony, because he's so damn good at NLP, he's not just listening to what words people tell him. He's looking at their physiology to see how
Mhm.
associated are they to it. And
Mhm.
he holds a standard to the association more than he does to the words.
Mhm.
And that's a whole different game, because you have to bring your A game, because you cannot bullshit. Like it's not allowed. So he's
Yeah.
not like, hey, tell me this. He's like, no, I need to feel it and I need to understand. Do I believe it? Okay, now we're moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
powerful. It's interesting to think about what it takes to hold that level of certainty. This, hey, this is where the train is going. You can get on the train or you can get off the train, but the train is still going in the same direction. From a leader, that takes the confidence of knowing that if you get off the train, that some other people are going to get on the train, right? And like, obviously, at this point, of course, people are always going to go want to work for Tony Robbins. But when he first started, I'm sure that wasn't the case, or that wasn't a given.
Well, and
But still, he was able to
I,
have.
yeah, and I came off of so full transparency. I came from a position that I got fired from. So I was working with a different coaching company. I got fired very publicly, and still to this day, I'm like, I've done my work. I know that I brought it on myself. Yes, I brought it to me. It was for my greater good. And the
Woosah,
guy that fired, what's that?
woosah.
Woosah. And the guy that fired me was an asshole. But nonetheless, uh, coming out of that, I was gun shy when I came in, because I'm like, well, I got fired from there for behaving a certain way, which I thought was what they wanted, was me like leading from the front and like pushing.
Mhm.
And then I got to go work for Tony Robbins. And at first I was like, do I play gun shy the way I played? Like, did I take the wounds of that previous experience and did I come in kind of collapsed or timid? And then my manager was actually cool. He goes, you work for Tony fucking Robbins. Like, play the way you need to play for the client. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is a different animal.
Mm.
And having that freedom to not be afraid, like, I'm going to say those words again because I need to hear these again. But having the freedom to not be afraid was liberating. And I'd shared with you, you and I were messaging back and forth in our morning banter yesterday. In that termination, they called me a rogue maverick.
Yeah.
And they were saying it in a negative way. And I took it as a badge of honor, right?
Yeah.
And that's carried with me into my, all the different projects and the things we've done. Yeah, be a rogue maverick and let go of the fear of, if you let go of that stuff and you burn the boats, like set the outcome, but burn the boats, magic can freaking unfold. I mean, shoot, we're putting stuff on Mars. Like, why can't we set bigger delusional outcomes here on Earth? Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. By the way, we're going to make Rogue Maverick t-shirts now, and
Yes.
you know, we'll split the profits, bro. No, absolutely. I decided a lot, and I don't know exactly when I decided this, but I made a decision a long time ago that I don't make decisions based on fear.
Hmm.
And that is a sentence that will resurface for me whenever I come to some kind of a big crossroads, whether that's a personal relationship or professional decision, just anything in my life where I'm kind of, oh, I don't know. What should I do? It'll just pop up from my unconscious. I don't make decisions based on fear. Almost always that allows me to make the correct decision, because usually the con side was the anxiety. What if this goes wrong? What could happen? What could happen? Versus like, what if it goes right? And what if it does go wrong, right? If it goes wrong, we learn. You mentioned and I love that you framed out Mars. This has already become a common thread on the show. This has come up over and over. This idea of looking at somebody or something else and going, well, if you can do that, then I can do this. And
It's
that kind of giving
huge.
people the confidence. And sometimes that comes from like, well, these people aren't smarter than me or better than me or, nicer than me or more educated or prettier or whatever. So like, if they can do it, then I can do it. Right. Do you see that a lot in your clients? Like, look, I know all of your clients are mega successful, but I'm sure some of them take off faster than others. And I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah.
can put together, the profile of the people that are going to go off like rocket ships. Tell me
No,
about that. What's the mindset of where you talk to someone, you go, this person's on the way to the moon?
it comes back to their primary question, right? So it comes
Mhm.
back to what questions are they asking, because they're going to find the answers.
Mhm.
And Tony teaches this whole thing. He calls it the boxes. And it's been something that's stuck with me. I'm grateful. I mentioned my Uncle Mark. He taught me Tony's principle when I was 12 years old, and it was huge. Because here's the concept, and I don't know if anyone's seeing video, but I'm putting my hands up. So in the top left corner, you have what we focus on drives our emotions. So your top left is what we focus on, pushes over to what we feel, is another way of
Mhm.
saying it.
Mhm.
How we feel determines what actions we do or don't take.
Mhm.
And based on the actions we do or don't take, that triggers the results that we get. And then we look at it and we go, oh, now I'm focusing on the results I got, which is triggering the feelings I got, which triggers the action. So there's this loop that we create. Okay. So again, it's focus, feelings, action, results.
Mhm.
So what's really easy to pick apart in people is we go, what are you focusing on? Because what you're focusing on is going to be that's the first domino. So for
Mhm.
people who are always focusing on what's not working or the fear or why we shouldn't do something, well, guess what? That's going to trigger the emotion. I can predict what action they will or won't take and can very clearly predict what results they're going to get. So when we want to help rock people's world, usually they're like, well, tell me what to do. They're saying, tell me what actions to take.
Right.
No, what are you focused on? Let's start there.
Mhm.
Do you think you can do it? Do you think you can't do it? Have you found references to help you condition your brain that you can make it possible, that it is available to you?
Mhm.
If you have more conditioning that it's not going to work, well, guess what? Guess what emotions are coming and guess what's going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know if I just made a crazy way of trying to explain that on somebody who's probably listening versus seeing something on paper. But yeah, I mean,
YouTube viewers and everybody else, if you wanted to see that, you could, and you're listening, you can tune in on YouTube and you can see Brooke make his crazy hand gestures, which may
my
or may
hands
not
up.
actually clarify the
What
concept for you. But yeah,
what do I do with my hands?
what I do. No, it's absolutely true. And when we are freaking out, we are just less likely to take rational action.
Yeah.
Right. So we can talk about this in the metaphysical way. We can talk about quantum physics. We can talk about manifestation. And you know, I love all that shit. Right. Or we can talk about it in the logical way, which is when you are losing your mind from stress and anxiety, it is very, very difficult for you to A, be expansive enough to even see all the possibilities of different things you can do, and B, take the most rational action, which might be a risky action. Right. And so with my clients, you know, we've got to stop, drop, and calm the fuck down first. I'm always teaching them, look, the number one thing you can learn as an entrepreneur if you want to do well is to manage your emotional state and to get happy, right? And we're not talking about getting happy in a dissociative, put it down in a little box and, you know, fuck your feelings kind of way, right? We're talking about actually feeling, processing, dealing with your fear, dealing with your anxiety, so that you can say, thank you for coming to lunch, anxiety. I appreciate you. I heard you. And now you can go away and I can now make a rational decision. What are your favorite techniques to teach your clients on how to get out of like scarcity, fear, anxiety, you know, when somebody's just gripped with it?
So first and foremost, move. So that's
Mhm.
the first piece, right? Because unless if your physiology is not impacting or affecting your emotions, then you're going to have some significant cognitive damage.
Mhm.
So if you're not heavily cognitively damaged, I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm making it up. If you're halfway sane, move your body because it's going to immediately shift the way that you feel. It's why doctors are constant. You're depressed. Hey, you need to work out.
Mhm.
It'd be better if they just said you need to move, right?
Mhm.
Because that's way easier versus thinking you got to go get a gym membership. So the first thing is always move. The second is where am I giving my focus? So if you can condition the focal point, whether it's watching videos or whether it's getting into your own incantations or affirmations, or if you're creating a picture or a vision, or if you're going and finding other people that have accomplished, like you mentioned, the key piece is what am I giving my energy and my focus to? Because where focus goes, energy flows.
Mhm.
So that's the first part. The other part you made mention, you used a very important word when you said when you're losing your mind,
Mhm.
right? You never hear people say, I'm losing my heart,
Mm.
right? So this is going to screw things up. Your head is going to screw things up. Or, as Tony would say, when you're in your head, you're dead.
Mhm.
When you're in your heart space, right? Even when we close our eyes and we put our hands on our heart and we just breathe into our heart for a moment, and we get into that zone of really feeling where we're at and feeling where we want to go and feeling what it is that it would mean to get there and who we become on the journey. When we can snap back into that space, our heart doesn't let us down. Our head's going to let us down twice on Sunday because
Mhm.
we're going to overanalyze this crap just like a computer and short circuit. Our heart doesn't do that, right? So those are my two immediate or three immediate go-tos. Like first, move. Second, recalibrate your focus. Third is get back into your heart space.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it can be frustrating sometimes to folks who are just like, again, tell me what to do. Tell me exactly what to do to make as much money as possible so that I'll feel better. And I'm like, you could go with that attitude right now, and I could hand you a check for $10 million and you wouldn't feel better, because then you would figure out a reason that you needed $100 million, and then you would figure out a reason you needed $1 billion. And, if you're just chasing this external thing is what's going to make me feel amazing, you're going to keep chasing that for the rest of your life. And we all know and have seen people who do that and literally will like die that way. Right. Instead, it's how do we get into the state we want to be in right now? So if I want to feel safe, if I want to feel secure, how do I feel safe right now? How do I feel secure right now? Brooke knows, and now you're all going to know that I'm a huge fan of Abraham Hicks. Love me some Abraham Hicks. And one of the things that Esther as Abraham says in the vortex is, when you wake up in the morning, just notice your bed. Just notice how comfortable your bed is, and just get into the vibration of, oh, this is such a comfortable bed. I'm so grateful for this bed. I love this bed. I've started doing that, by the way, in the morning and at night. When I get back in, oh, this is such a nice bed right before I go to sleep. It just puts you in a different mindset, puts you in a attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Right.
I love yourself. Just find a better feeling, right? It's just like not going from turmoil to bliss, but like just one level above wherever you're sitting.
I'm safe. I'm comfortable. Right.
Yeah.
We all have this, about hedonic adaptation, right? So when I get something that I want, and this is just for anyone listening who doesn't know this concept, it's, maybe I want a certain kind of house, right? A mansion. It's up on my vision board and I've been working toward it for years. And finally I make all this money and I save all the money and I get the mansion, right? And I'm going to be psyched about that mansion for like the first couple of months. And then eventually that's just going to become my normal house.
Yep.
And then if I want to have that feeling again, and I haven't done any personal growth, right? I want to just get that feeling again. I'm going to have to go buy a bigger mansion. This is how people end up in, houses that are like replicas of the Palace of Versailles or whatever. Right? It's like, we got a family of four. We got a 60,000 square foot Versailles that we built because it's never going to be big enough.
Yeah.
Our dopamine adapts. It takes more and more and more. And so if you're chasing those external validators like that, you are never going to be happy. Versus if you can just get into, oh my God, my bed's amazing. It's this, by the way, my bed is the same bed I've had for probably like 8-9 years. It's a good bed. Like I went and I laid on all the mattresses and I got all the good sheets. You know what I mean? Like it's a good bed. But like it's the same bed I've had for 8 years, but I still appreciate it every single morning and every single night. And especially when I go sleep in a hotel bed and come back to it. I really appreciate it. And starting that way, it's like, look, I don't need to go get more to feel good. I have a lot. I live in complete abundance. And I'm super happy. And from that space, now it's, okay, cool. What do I want to create? Maybe I want to make a podcast called Delusional and like see what crazy friends I can get to come on it,
Again, language being so powerful, right? Because you mentioned state management earlier, right? Well, finding a better feeling using Abraham's concepts and getting into that vortex space of creation. We've got these dynamics of even just something as simple as like laying in bed and finding gratitude just in the sensations and the connection you have to the pillow or to the sheets or whatever's there. It's, if we take one question that most people are asking, which you also referenced, which is how? How can I this? How can I that? This is a fascinating piece because how is a mechanical question that will only give you mechanical answers. Right? It's the presupposition of it. If you ask anybody how to do something, it requires a step-by-step answer. And that's usually not the right question. So if we scramble up those letters, take the HOW, move them around, I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to start asking who. And you might think I'm going to say like, who can help me? No, not being self-serving in that. It's who do I need to be to get this outcome? So if our goal is to get on Mars, it's not how do I get on Mars? It's who do I need to be so that we can figure out how to get to Mars. It's who do I need to be to laying in bed. Most people wake up thinking of all the challenges, what's wrong in their world or what they don't have or whatever's difficult. Before you get out of bed, ask the question, who do I need to be today? You're going to get totally different answers, right? And then ask, okay, who do I need to be? Okay, now how do I get there? So start with the who, then go to the how.
Yeah. And pro tip, by the way, friends, Don't pick up your phone first thing. Wake up 10
Derailed.
seconds later, put the phone on. Oh my God. Don't pick up your phone and go to Twitter X, whatever, first thing or the news. Because yeah, now your whole day just becomes reactive.
Yep.
I got triggered immediately. I'm waking up. Oh my God, everything, the world's on fire. Everything's terrible. I'm reacting. Man, just take 1 minute to appreciate your bed. Look out the window, see if the sun is shining, or be grateful for the rain. Hear the birds chirping. I have these beautiful birds outside of my house, Brooke. When I first moved into this house, I felt like they were going to start coming in and dressing me like Cinderella, you know.
Oh,
And
that's
they start
awesome.
at 5, 6 in the morning, but they're beautiful. It's beautiful. I appreciate it a little more than my partner does, but it's beautiful. Take a minute to appreciate the surroundings, even if it's literally 60 seconds before you pick up the phone. Right.
When we're in stress states, we don't make good decisions, right? Case in point, you add more alcohol to the situation, your body is more stressed, you're probably not going to make as good a decision.
Yeah.
But the same thing is true when it comes to emotional stress, right? So if you're starting your day off emotionally stressed and you think that those are going to be good dominoes leading you through your day, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Well, what you're doing is you're allowing your attention to be hijacked.
yeah,
Now, in your model, the most important step, the first step was focus. What are you focused on? Where's your focus? We all have this beautiful gift of focus, and your focus is free, friends. Like, this is not like, oh, you had to have a billionaire daddy to be able to do this, or like your focus is free. You've got it, but everybody wants it.
yeah,
Right now, we are living in a world where attention is the currency. So
yeah. Well,
everybody
you
and
can swap
everything
that out
that's,
with focus.
oh my
Like
God. And it's
same
like
thing.
notifications constantly and whatever. Like if you don't want focus, like everyone else will take it. You actually have to work now. And man, I've become a huge fan of do not disturb on the phone, but you have to put in a little work to just shut everything out and be able to focus. But that is what it takes to be able to follow through and do something and create something. Right. I've been thinking, Brooke, I don't know if you like this frame, but like every day lately, I've been asking, am I creating or am I consuming? Like, what am I
I
doing right
love
now?
that frame. I think it's a beautiful freaking frame.
I'll be
It's,
sitting there scrolling, like I get just as addicted to the TikToks or the reels. I sound so old. The Tiki Talkies. As the next guy, like all of a sudden 30 minutes has gone by and I've been watching everybody's, and like there's nothing wrong with a little bit of that. But then I have to stop and I ask myself, okay, I just spent 30 minutes consuming content. Right? What do I want to go create today? I need to now reverse the momentum on what's happening today because otherwise I could consume my life away. It's so easy now.
yeah, it's if you think of the companies that are making the most money on earth, they have the least amount of tangibles, but what they have the most of is they are attracting consumers. That's why they make the most money.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it's interesting because since kind of connecting the dots, some of all these pieces. So we just finished a project for Tony. So our company just did a piece for him. He just put out his time management event. It's this crazy amazing thing. 3-day event, rocks your world. You recalibrate every part of your life and who you are and what your purpose is and how to actually live that. But here's an interesting piece. So one of the things he does in the very beginning of this is he goes, the number one thing I hear from people is they tell me they don't have the time, right? So
Mm.
whatever that delusional thing is that they want, when he asks them, well, why aren't you going after it? Well, I don't have
Mhm.
time. Then the second thing that usually comes up is I don't have the resources, right? But
Mhm.
the time piece is a fascinating one because it's the great equalizer. Like we all have the exact same amount of time in a given day in a given week.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what your sex is, what your gender is, what your skin color is, where you live on the planet. We all have 24 hours, right?
Mhm.
So the thing that's fascinating is he goes, I want you to, and actually for anyone who's listening, I would encourage you guys to do this. And actually, Michelle, for you to do this too.
Yeah.
He goes, I want you to pull out your phone and I want you to go to your settings and I want you to go to your screen time. And I want you to look at how much time you spent this week on social media
Oh
or on
no.
or on things that didn't relate to your delusional grand vision that you're trying to
Right.
create. Like how much time did you spend this week purely on that? And he started to pull up the averages. It's bonkers. Bonkers. So this is just on the cell phone. The average American is spending close to 3 hours a day on their cell phone.
Mhm.
Okay. For mathematicians out there, that's 20 hours per week, or half of your job people are spending on their cell phone
Mhm.
when they could be putting that time towards creating their delusional life. Well, then he
Mhm.
started to look at, well, what's the average time people spend in front of the TV? Well, the average American's spending over 3 hours a day in front of TV. So now we have
Mm.
6 hours a day. That's 42 hours a week, TV and looking at their phone,
Oh,
but
come
they don't
on,
have
Brooke. We're
time.
doing it at the same time.
We might
Give
be
us a
creative and
break.
clever, but for somebody who says, but I mean, even think about it. Are we spending an hour a day creating our delusional life? And then when we say we don't have time, well, we do. We're just not allocating it, right? Like we're just not
Right.
associated to it. So it's wild when we start to unpack that and we start to see what could be created. Um, yeah, there's a lot of magic that can be done, and there's a lot of people doing it. So that's the other part too, is getting yourself around more of those delusional people or listening to more delusional podcasts. Wink, wink. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Listen, I've just decided that my new delusional goal is to have Tony Robbins on the podcast. And since you're on such a first name basis with him, maybe we can make it happen, right?
Make
Moonshot.
magic happen.
Make the
Moonshot.
magic happen.
Yeah, why not?
Why not, right? I love the 1 hour a day frame. Right. Now, when you start to read some of the, so I just read this book, The Science of Scaling, Ben Hardy, and his whole thing is take your goal, collapse the time frame, like 10x the goal. So if I want to make $1 million now, it's I want to make $10 million, and then collapse the time frame. So if it's I want to make $1 million in 5 years, it becomes I want to make $10 million in 1 year, right? And then if
Yep.
you have a big enough goal in a small enough time frame, then it forces you to eliminate everything in your life aside from the pursuit of this goal. Now I think that's very interesting. I don't know that I personally ascribe to it because I have children. I have a partner, and I do like to watch Love Island. Okay, it's okay. I have my friends. I like to go to the gym. I'm not on the like nothing but the goal train, right? I like to have a balanced life, a peaceful life, and I love the frame of 1 hour a day toward your goal, right? I don't need more than 1 hour a day, in the aggregate to produce this delusional podcast, which is fucking awesome, by the way. Now, there are some days that I'm spending, like today, I'm going to be recording podcast interviews for 3 hours. But there are other, several days where I don't do anything with it, right? I'm going to be recording today for a few hours, and then I'm heading out on a road trip with my son for the next 9 days, and I won't be doing any work on the podcast. And it's going to average out to less than an hour a day to make something really cool. It's going to help a lot of people. And I still get to spend time with my kids, and I still get to watch Love Island. It's like, you don't have to go all the way down the crazy train of nothing but the goal in order to get really cool shit created.
Yeah. So I will offer up a metaphor or a different way of looking at it, right? So where I think we oftentimes get bent around the axle is the time piece.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you said, because where are you in right now? You're in DC, Maryland?
Yeah, I'm in
Where are you at?
Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay, so you're in Virginia. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so for you to get from your house to my house in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
how could you get here? Like, what are some of the clever ways you could get here? And
I
this
could
is going to sound
walk, I
totally
could
patronizing.
skateboard, I could fly in a hot air balloon. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So there's a bazillion different ways you could do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the difference between all of them? There's two things. One is going
Some
to
are
be
faster.
speed,
Yeah. Some are
and
more
probably
comfortable.
and comfort. Yep, speed and comfort. Right? If you took
I got the right answer,
you
guys.
nailed it. We're good. Let's hang up the shingle. Like we're done. We're done.
Game.
Signing out. So what changes though? So this is the part that I think gets really important for people. The destination doesn't change. The
Mm-hmm.
speed and the comfort do. So here's the big difference. Most people are going to go, well, I want to make $1 million in a year, but if I can't make $1 million in a year, I'm not even going to try. And they
Mm-hmm.
throw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
Versus saying, I'm going to make $1 million, but not putting on the year mark into the equation. Well, you can make $1 million that fast. Put together the right deal, put together the right thing, sell the right thing, do it. We can go down the road, make the right investment. So if you said, well, I'm going to make $1 million, it might take me 10 years, right? The outcome doesn't change, but the speed and the comfort and what we're willing to do to get there can change. So I think there's a huge distinction within that of burning the boats and not killing yourself within the timelines, but really just thinking about what is it that I really want and how do I want to play the game of getting there? And then playing the time card in of, do I want to do this really freaking fast? Or do I want to watch Love Island? And I'm cool with it taking a year and a half versus 18 days or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's that piece of be real and be real with yourself around how bad do I really want it? Because this goes back to the other piece. Like, how strong is your why? Because
It's
if
the
you're
why, right? It's not even like what do I want? It's like why do I want it? why do I want it? And if it's because it's going to make me feel this way or that way or whatever, there might be a lot easier ways to just get to that feeling. And you could get to that feeling probably in 10 seconds. But if it's something like, oh, because I want to leave a legacy of helping a million people transform their lives, or I mean, if you're talking about Tony Robbins, like millions and millions and millions of people have changed their lives because of something that I said or something that I put out, something they read in one of my books, or because they came to one of my events, or because they got coached by somebody who learned from me, or, the ripple effect is enormous, right? That's the kind of why that's going to get everybody on board with your delusion. And it's the kind of thing that's going to keep you getting on planes every 3 days, right? That guy's not getting any younger, but he's still out there doing the damn thing.
Well, your vision has to be sexier than your habits.
Ooh, say it again for the people in the back.
Yeah, see, I knew if I put the word sexy in there, I knew it was going to trigger. So your vision has to be sexier than your habits.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, like, so we've talked before about how we, our parenting style with my kids, like we're very counterculture in terms of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the kick. We know that if we want our kids to be doing or participating in something, it has to be more enticing than the thing that they're doing. So if I want my kids to not be on video games, I have to find an activity that's going to be more exciting than damn video games.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part is all of those people are spending trillions of dollars to hack our kids' brains, which is why they spend more time there than they do doing the other things.
Mm-hmm.
We're the same thing as our kids. If our vision is not more sexy than Love Island, then guess what's getting our attention?
Nothing's sexier than Love Island, Brooke. You can tell this guy's never watched Love Island.
I haven't seen it.
It's very sexy.
Just by the title, my mind can run wild. But yeah, but it's true though, right? Like you look at somebody like Elon Musk, whether you agree with his political world or whatever.
We can all agree that he's a delusional person.
He is a delusional person. Who goes and buys Twitter for whatever?
Yeah.
But you look at all the different pieces. He's a delusional guy, but you'll notice his visions. It's very clear if you hear him speak. He's very clear about like his mission and what he wants, whether you agree with it or not. But like the dude knows what he wants, and he does not compromise on the outcome. He's like, okay, well, if you're not going to get me there, then get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
Right. There's probably some integrity challenges and some moral, ethical pieces that are there, but that's a different dialogue. Yeah. But you can't question that. And so with us, like, what can we take the meat and throw out the bones and go, okay, great. How committed am I to my outcome, as delusional as it might be? Mm-hmm. What's my timelines? I do like Ben Hardy's piece. That was a huge distinction of like cut the timeline because it forces you to change behavior. When we have really long timelines, we are procrastinating little beings. So yeah, such a good book. Such a good book.
You already read it. It just came out. It's right on top of it, along with me.
So in the space of mentioning Tony Robbins, so Tony, he brought Tony into the fold. I got a copy of it like 6 months ago. But
oh my God.
I know. See, I'm name dropping. I don't know. There's probably like a counter.
He's book dropping. He's special access dropping. This guy cuts through ropes. Brooke, we could talk for hours as we often do. And we're about at time. If people want to know more about you, find you, work with you, whatever, where can they find you on the internet?
BrookBishop.com. So Brook, like a babbling brook, no E, because that's for the ladies. BrookBishop.com. And then, can connect to me in a bazillion different ways through there, but that's the easiest.
And I have a similar site at michellecoyle.com if you just want to go to the hub that has links to everything I do.
How many L's? How many L's in Michelle, though?
2 L's in Michelle. 2 L's in Michelle. And COYLE.com. And please follow us at Delusional Pod, at the Delusional Pod on Instagram, and at Michelle to Scale on Instagram, and everywhere else. Like, follow, tell your friends about the podcast. This is going to be huge. We're going to get Tony Robbins on it. It's going to be so big. And I believe it, Brooke. Do you feel it? Do you feel it in my physiology?
Let's make it happen. I believe you.
Let's make it happen. I'm going to show y'all some delusional shit.
Who do you need to be, Michelle, to make it happen? That's the real question.
I already am, Brooke. Watch and learn. All right, guys. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Brooke, thank you so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.